Good afternoon, Berkswell, and those of you who are logging in, who may not be from Berkswell. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Mark Bratton. I'm the rector of St. John Baptist Berkswell, affectionately known as Berkswell Church. And what I want to do is to read out my rector's reflection for April, which should have appeared in the parish magazine, but because of the current lockdown can't be distributed for obvious reasons. So here it is. May you live in interesting times is the English expression of a traditional Chinese curse. No irony intended. The sentiment is that it's better to live in uninteresting times. We certainly live in interesting times now. The spread of the coronavirus has utterly transformed our lives, for the time being at least, including our church life. By the time we come through it, the world will have changed, and so will we have. Our children and grandchildren will be talking about this liminal moment in history. When my son is asked what his A-level results were, he will reply, "That was the year public examinations were cancelled." For many pupils, I imagine, this will be the silver lining in the lowering virological cloud. In history, times of disaster occasion profound transformative shifts in thinking and social organization. The closest recent examples of such profound upheaval are the two world wars. Attitudes about the nature of society, including the place of women in it, underwent revolutionary change because it was necessary. There could be no room for cavilling, complication, or stiffness and refusing. The focus had to be on defeating the enemy in its Nazi, totalitarian, and Japanese imperialist forms. The big difference this time is that the enemy is internal, a coronated microorganism with a particular talent for spading its way into the tubules of the lungs, with devastating effects, particularly for the ill and the elderly. It has occasioned a public emergency which has disrupted our lives to an extent unprecedented in peacetime. What spiritual comfort can I, as the rector of Berkswell Parish, offer the church and wider community at this time? Well, firstly, I want to remind you of the repeated biblical injunction, "Do not fear." Apparently, it is the most oft-repeated biblical commandment there is. Apparently, it is repeated 365 times, although I haven't personally counted. These are the first words that the angel Gabriel utters to a startled Mary, who was then to become the mother of the Messiah. Similarly, when Jesus appears to his disciples after the resurrection. For us, in these straitened times, it is a call to faith, especially when beset by doubts about how a world with coronavirus in it could possibly be the best of all possible worlds, let alone the work of a loving Creator God. Secondly, I ask you to consider your own welfare as well as that of others. Jesus calls us to love others as we love ourselves. The second limb of that directive is often overlooked. Self-interest is not the same as selfishness. It should stand to reason that if we don't look after ourselves properly, we will be ill-equipped to look after others, especially if they're vulnerable and in need of care. We have a responsibility to steward our bodies, our lives, and our resources intelligently, and if we fail in that duty, others will suffer. Thirdly, I encourage you to regard this period of restricted activity as a great opportunity to live more slowly, relatively free of distraction, a chance to pray and reflect upon what really matters to you, to question whether our frenetic lifestyles and pursuit of greater wealth and stuff does, in fact, redound to happiness. Moreover, this enforced discipline will show us that we are capable, when pushed, of living more harmoniously with the rhythms of nature and of our fragile planet. Indeed, I hear that in Beijing, which has been covered for decades by an impenetrable smog, they've been able to see the bright blue light of day for the first time. At the social, cultural, and political level, I believe that a new era of global solidarity will be forged because of the international cooperation necessary to defeat the infection. The New Testament draws a distinction between clock time, in Greek chronos, and opportune time, in Greek kairos. We are currently living in a kairos moment. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change our lives, personally, collectively, institutionally, nationally, and internationally, for the better. Our enforced response to this microbiological warrior might just be to save the planet. Thus ends the Rector's reflection for April. I hope you found that helpful and a pause for thought. I will be uploading thoughts and sermons and talks onto Facebook fairly regularly until further notice. Thank you.